All right, hello and welcome to the video. My name is Wade Daniel Smith. Allow me to demonstrate the first one of my first major problems with Christianity. I used to be a Christian for the first 36 years of my life, and I no longer believe that Jesus probably ever even existed, much less to claim that he was a man, God in the flesh. All right. First of all, let me show you something. This is a King James Bible that I had when I was a Christian. And let me explain something to you. You see this drawing on the front of cover of the Bible? That's Jesus supposedly knocking on the door of your heart. And since Christians believe that Jesus was God in the flesh, this drawing actually violates the second commandment. All right. Thou shalt not make unto thyself any graven image to bow down to, not of anything in heaven, the earth, or the sea. All right. Since you believe that he is God in the flesh, it tells you not to make a graven image of anything in heaven, not even God himself. All right. And so the very first thing this Bible does is violate the second commandment by drawing pictures of Jesus all over the place and claiming that he is God. Well, if he is God, it's a violation of the second commandment to attempt to draw him. That's the first problem with this Bible. Let me read the second commandment exactly from Exodus 20. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness, not just a graven image, but any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow thyself down to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of generations of them that love me and keep my commandments. All right. So, the very first thing that Christians do is make an idol out of Jesus of Nazareth. All right, you ever seen the Christ the Redeemer idol at Rio de Janeiro? That is an idol. It violates the second commandment. Let me read to you the first commandment, because the Ten Commandments are in fact derivable from natural law. 7 of them are derivable from Confucius' silver rule. 2 of them, the first and second, are derivable from common sense and the cosmological argument. And the Sabbath day is derivable from common sense. Let me read to you the first commandment. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. All right? Simple. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. That means in front of me, beside me, or behind me. All right? Because he said in Isaiah, I alone am God. There was no God formed before me. There is no God beside me, and there shall be no God after me. So the notion of the Trinity is debunked by Isaiah. There's no God beside God. There's no God before God, and there shall be no Son of God after God. And I'll prove that to you from Numbers 23:19. That God is not a man. It literally tells you in Numbers 23:19 that God is not a man. That's why the Jews stoned and later crucified Jesus for the blasphemy of claiming to be God in the flesh. Numbers 23:19. God, five words. God is not a man, nor a son of man. Let's read the whole verse, though. God is not a man that he should lie, neither the son of man that he should repent or change his ways. Hath he said, and shall he not do it? Or hath he spoken, and shall he not make it good? In other words, God doesn't need a savior to save you. He can speak the words, and you are forgiven. He is almighty, isn't he? Yeah, of course. Dying on a cross would not add one thing to God, and it doesn't add anything to God's ability to forgive you. You are not saved by Jesus. You are saved by God speaking the word, I forgive you. And you are not, there is no such thing as a God man. You wouldn't worship the Pharaoh of Egypt, or you wouldn't worship the the emperor of Japan or the emperor of China, they all claimed to be God in the flesh, and they were all liars. So why would you worship a weird man that you never even heard of from Israel? God is not a man, and he's not a woman either. Mary. All right. So let's go even further. Let me show you in John's Gospel, so called, where there are 10 different origin stories, at least in the New Testament, from where Jesus came from. One of them claims he was the Son of Man. One of them claims he was the son of a virgin woman. One of them claims that the Holy Spirit had sex with Mary, and that's how Jesus was created. Another one claims that the Father member of the Trinity had sex with Mary, and that's how Jesus was created. Another one claims that he was simply spoken into the womb in John 1 through 14. All right. But it claims it, all right. But if he was he called himself the Son of Man 10 or 11 times in Matthew and Mark's Gospel. So if he was the son of a man, he couldn't be the son of a virgin. But he admitted he was the son of a man. So he's a liar when he started calling himself the son of a virgin and the son of God, and then later called himself God himself in the flesh more than once. And if you don't believe that Jesus called himself God in the flesh more than once, I can show you in John's Gospel where he did it several times. Let me see. Part of it somewhere in John's Gospel. Where he claimed that not only was he not only was he the son of God, but he claims that that he is in fact God, because when he was debating with the Jews, let's see. Let's see. He's debating with the Jews in chapter 8. Let me see if where he sent this. He's claiming I am from above and you are of this world and I am not of this world, and so forth. So he is in fact starting to claim that he's God outright and that he's the light of the world, and everything else is darkness. And he claims that the testimony of two men is true. No, it's not. I am one that bear witness of myself, and my Father sent me beareth witness of me. That's not two men. All right. He's making circular logic here. He's claiming that his witness is true and God's witness is bearing witness of him. God didn't bear witness to him. All right. And the testimony of two men is not true. All right. That's the problem with eyewitness testimony. It's been shown that you can plant witnesses and confuse 12 people who absolutely saw the true thing, and then the 12 people who saw the truth will believe the two liars. All right. even though they saw the truth themselves. So you cannot believe the testimony of two men. You can't believe the testimony of two women either. All right. But anyway, there's a place in one of the gospels where Jesus is debating with the leaders of Israel, and first of all, he lies and says that God would be able to raise up stones to be children of Abraham. No, he couldn't. No, he couldn't. Then they wouldn't be children of Abraham. They would be children of something else, stones. All right. And then secondly, because the word children means you're derived from a very specific person. All right. But then he says that that he saw Satan fall from heaven as lightning, and they said that you're not more than 50 years old, and have you seen Abraham? And then Jesus says, "In the beginning, I am," and so he's claiming to be the true Creator God at that point. And then they said, they called him a devil and started to stone him because, and he asked, "Why do you stone me?" And he said, "Because you're a man and you made yourself God." And then Jesus replied with another lie, which is to claim that the book of Psalms says, "I said ye are all gods," which is a lie and violates the first and second commandment. The book of Psalms does not say that. But he tried to pluralize God in defense of himself by saying that all humans were gods. Well, that's what the book of Genesis says Adam and Eve did at the beginning of time, is eat from a tree and try to become God. The very first sin of human beings was trying to be gods in the flesh. And then that's what people worship Jesus for, calling himself a God in the flesh. So do you see a problem there? I do. He's committing the same sin Adam and Eve committed in the first place, calling himself God in the flesh. But by the way, let's debunk the infallibility of Genesis. First of all, the Great Flood never happened. There is absolutely no evidence whatsoever in the fossil record that a Great Flood ever happened. None whatsoever. The biggest flood that has ever been found in the fossil record is the Black Sea flood, and that's about 1,000 times too small to be Noah's flood. All right. So this never happened. The Tower of Babel never happened. All right. It's been shown that even fired bricks with modern mortar can't get more than about 2 miles high before it would collapse. And this story claims that they were threatening reaching heaven using mud bricks and slime for mortar, according to chapter 11, verse 3. And then according to this, the God comes down to see the city, and the God says, which is not the God, says, "Behold, the people are as one, and they have all the one language, and they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do." Then he says, "Let us go down," and there he pluralizes himself for no reason, which he later tells you not to pluralize himself. So this is wrong. "And there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon." So this God supposedly is afraid that the humans would become smart enough to become gods themselves, which is absurd. So then he scatters the people, according to this story, which is a lie. That never happened. This is a Babylonian myth that somehow got incorporated into the Jewish religion. And so is the story of Noah. You ever heard of the Epic of Gilgamesh? It's an exact ripoff of Gilgamesh, of the Epic of Gilgamesh. So it's two Babylonian myths that somehow got incorporated into the Jewish religion. Abraham, there are so many absurdities and logical absurdities and logic breaks in the story of Abraham that it's complete nonsense. Oh yeah, the 900-year-old man never happened. All right, and neither did the 200-year-old man. in the fossil record of human beings, the farther you go back in time, the less time human beings lived on average. In fact, modern humans, before Louis Pasteur's contributions, most modern humans died by the age of 40, and 80% of all children born died by the age of 5. All right. And before modern times and before so called modern humans, the ancestor races of humans only lived to about 15 years old before they died, according to the fossil record. So, no, Neanderthals didn't live for 900 years, and Denisovans didn't live for 900 years, and Cro Magnon man didn't live for 900 years, and so on down the line. So, this is a complete myth that has no basis in reality. The story of Abraham, he violates the law that is later given to Moses so many times, and yet is supposedly blessed for it. Like about like Melchizedek, they show you these legendary people such as kings and whatnot that never existed, blessing Abraham and saying, "Well, the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth, and He blessed the Most High God, which delivered thine enemies into thine hand, and gave him tithes of all." So this king takes it upon himself to bless Abraham in the name of God. You cannot bless anybody in the name of God. The whole notion of laying your hands on somebody and praying for them in the name of God to somehow heal them or bless them by you simply praying does not work. You are not God, and you are not a mediator for God, and neither was Jesus. God is God, and you are a man or a woman. You are not able to bless somebody in the name of God. Only God Himself can bless somebody, and only if He chooses to. You are not God, and you are not some kind of anointed priest of God, even if you think you are. And neither was this person. This person never even existed. This is a complete myth. Like, let me show you another contradiction. If you thought that the covenants in the book of Genesis were true events that actually happened in human history, they say these covenants say they are everlasting covenants. For example, Genesis 17:13, everlasting covenant. All right. Everlasting is eternal, something that cannot be broken. So let's go back to Genesis 8, or rather 9. He says here that this is an everlasting covenant to perpetual generations. You can read it yourself. If you thought that these stories were based on something truthful, you would have to immediately reject the entire New Testament, because the entire New Testament is making the claim that these covenants were done away with. But these covenants claim that they are perpetual generations forever, an everlasting covenant to perpetual generations. All right. So you can't have it both ways. If these are everlasting, the only way the new covenant could be true is if God Himself was a liar. So something's got to give. And the truth is, both of them are lies. That's the truth. Both of them are lies. They never happened. And here's another one. They blessed Rebekah and said unto her, Thou art our sister, be thou the mother of thousands of millions, and let thy seed possess the gate of all those which hate them. All right. Well, that's never come to pass. So we know that that didn't happen, because, again, you are a man. You are not God. You do not have the power to bless anybody by your voice. Only God can speak the truth into existence, not a mortal man or woman. You do not have the power to bless Rebecca and bless her to be the mother of billions of people and possess the gates of all those who hate them. There's never been more than a couple million Jews alive on the earth at once, so this has never come to pass at all. And it never will. And, if you thought the covenant in Genesis was true, then you would have to reject most of Exodus, because all God does in Exodus is curse the ground for man's sake, even though he said in Genesis, supposedly, that he would never again curse the ground for man's sake. If you thought Genesis was true, you would have to reject Exodus. If you thought Exodus was true, you would have to reject Genesis. If you thought either of them was true, you would have to reject the entire New Testament once again. And then in the story of Samuel, why would the real God send a 7-year-old to rebuke the high priest, if there even was such a thing as a high priest? Why would he send a 7-year-old, an unqualified witness, to rebuke the high priest? Why not send Samuel's mother or father to go rebuke the high priest? You don't send a child to go rebuke the ruler of an entire country. That doesn't make any sense. Not only that, but a child whom the story admits did not know God either. All right. That's pretty simple. Why would you send a child to rebuke the ruler, a 7-year-old child, to rebuke the ruler of the entire country? The God that I believe in is a God of wisdom and order and knowledge. Not He doesn't do things out of order, which the book of Genesis has the creation story in the wrong order. All right. It's got plants and animals being created on the earth before the sun, moon, and stars were even created. Which, they would just die within a day. It's got water on the earth before empty space and light and darkness even existed, which makes no sense. You can't make molecules before light itself exists. All right, stuff like that. It's nonsense. All right, and the best way to catch a liar is when they tell a lie of complete ignorance. They're sitting there lying about something that they have no knowledge of. So the author of Genesis made up all sorts of lies about things that he had absolutely no knowledge of. So, wow, I have totally debunked the doctrine of scriptural inspiration and infallibility. I can debunk almost every book in the Bible that way. I can debunk Job because nobody has ever lived to 210 years. So the claim that he, at the end of the book, that he lived to 210 years and saw 6 generations of his offspring after his first generation of children all died, supposedly killed by God himself, that would make God a murderer, because it started out by telling you there was nothing wrong with Job or his family. All right. So, if God killed Job's 10 kids just to toy with Job, that would make God a murderer, and God is not a murderer. All right. So the whole thing is debunked. The notion of scriptural inspiration and infallibility is totally debunked.